Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the misty rhythms of the past, into a place full of heat, humidity, and the quiet shuffling of slippers on stone. You're about to spend an entire day inside a 14th century Korean bathhouse, where time slows, water steams, and strangers become friends by the furnace. It's still dark outside. The mountains are just black silhouettes stitched against a pale, ink-washed sky. You're lying flat on a paper mat in a hammock house, your cheek pressed against a wooden pillow that looks suspiciously like an uncomfortable headrest from a medieval dentist's office. The ondal beneath you, the traditional underfloor heating system, is radiating a subtle warmth from a fire fed hours ago with pine logs and dried rice chaff. You can hear the sounds of dawn beginning. Someone's rooster is already way too excited about life. A wooden cart creaks by outside, its wheels thudding over stones. And somewhere nearby, a Buddhist temple drum beats a slow, resonant rhythm that rolls down the valley like a soft thunderclap. It's your alarm clock. Sort of. You peel yourself off the mat like steamed rice off a bamboo tray and stretch, your arms nearly brushing the exposed ceiling rafters. The air smells of pine smoke, old paper, and a trace of fermented soybean paste that never quite leaves the neighborhood. Your host family, distant cousins of your third aunt's rice merchant, left you a little breakfast bundle, some barley porridge, a pickled plum wrapped in mulberry leaves, and a lukewarm cup of jujube tea. It's not much, but it's enough to keep your stomach from staging a rebellion mid-bath. Getting dressed for the bathhouse is easy. You throw on a loose cotton robe, well-worn and slightly damp in the cuffs because it's June and no laundry ever fully dries. You slide your feet into wooden Geta-style slippers that make a pleasant talk as you shuffle toward the courtyard. You pause for a moment to admire the faint breath of steam already rising above the distant rooftops. There it is, the village bathhouse, nestled between a mulberry grove and the hill shrine. It's not fancy. No tile dragons or palace-level splendor. Just a big, squat building with clay walls, a thatched roof, and its own chimney, puffing contentedly like it's had a good night's sleep, too. You make your way down the narrow path, nodding to neighbors and trying not to trip over a sleepy chicken. One man hauling a basket of cabbage gives you a look that seems to say, going for the early soak, eh? Good choice. Or possibly, why are you wearing your robe inside out? You're not sure, and you're too sleepy to care. Historians still argue whether bathhouses in Goryeo-era Korea were purely communal or partially segregated by class and gender. In this town, it's co-ed, but with strict unwritten rules about where to look, how loudly to talk, and when it's okay to sing. Hint, never. By the time you reach the low wooden gate, the sky is bruising pink, and the air is cool with that pre-dawn hush. The faint scent of charcoal smoke and mugwort hangs heavy. The makyaktang awaits. You push open the gate, and it creaks with dignified reluctance, like a retired general sighing into his final campaign. Inside the entrance yard, there's a line of sandals already left neatly on the side, a sign that some of the elders beat you to it. Of course they did. You step onto the warm flagstones, already slightly damp with morning dew and yesterday's steam. You feel the humidity wrap around your ankles like a silk scarf soaked in tea. You're in, and the best part? You probably won't survive this. Not because it's dangerous, though slipping on those polished stones is a genuine threat, but because your modern skin is about to meet 14th century exfoliation. Your pores don't even know what's coming. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is where you are, especially if it's already past midnight. I see you, night owls. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step inside the outer corridor, and warmth greets you immediately, moist and thick like walking into a giant's tea kettle. Steam curls under the rafters, lit by paper lanterns glowing faintly yellow, each one dancing gently with the slow breath of rising heat. A woman in a wrap skirt and linen blouse moves past you with a stack of towels and a look that says she's been up since the hour of ghosts. She hums a tune you vaguely recognize, probably something your grandmother used to sing when pickling radish. As you pass the main threshold, a carved wooden sign hangs above the doorframe. Clean body, calm mind. Or possibly, don't slip, fool. It's open to interpretation. Korean script was still developing standardization during this time, so even the locals argue over what's etched above your head. One last breath of morning air, and you're in. You've officially left behind the outside world. No fields, no tax collectors, no errand boys asking you to translate Chinese scrolls. Just steam, wood, and the comforting sound of someone somewhere splashing water with a bamboo ladle. You feel your shoulders drop just a little. The bathhouse has accepted you, and the day has only just begun. The floorboards beneath your feet are slick but warm. You shuffle forward, greeted by the soft crackling of the fire, stoked somewhere deep in the belly of the bathhouse. The ambient hum of muffled voices echoes gently off clay walls, mixing with the hissing sound of steam escaping from a cracked bamboo pipe. You pause near the inner threshold to remove your slippers, placing them carefully in a neat row among the others. Some large, some tiny, one pair carved with painted cranes that must belong to someone far more elegant than you. The corridor opens into a wider antechamber where the air turns wetter, denser. You pass a mural painted directly onto the wall. Something vaguely mythical, a tiger curled beneath a pine tree, its stripes faded from years of steam and touch. Someone's added a cheeky mustache to it in charcoal. You try not to giggle because the sound might bounce. Here, the rules of time and urgency dissolve. You're surrounded by slow movement. Someone tying their top knot with agonizing care. Another soul folding a towel into the perfect square, as if it were a scroll for the king. You start to match the pace. Everything you do becomes deliberate. No ruse, no meetings, no cell phone buzzing with bad news. Just the talk of wooden saws and the occasional sigh. You step into the main changing room. The heat hits you more squarely here. Less of a cozy hug now, more like a persistent ant smushing your cheeks at a festival. The walls are lined with wooden cubbies, some holding neatly folded robes, others stuffed with bundles wrapped in cloth knotted at the corners. Bojagi, the traditional wrapping fabric, serving both as purse and privacy. You choose an empty spot and begin to undress, layering your modern discomfort with a layer of cultural confusion. What goes where? Do you fold this? Is that someone's soap? Around you, others move quietly. There's an old man humming tunelessly while rubbing something herbal onto his arms. A pair of women discuss their pickled radish ratios in voices soft as rain. You notice a young boy with a pouch tied around his neck, probably full of medicinal herbs or a lucky coin. Or both. Maybe he's a little healer in training. You never know with kids. You hang your robe on a peg and begin wrapping your own towel. A small linen square that wouldn't qualify as modesty-preserving by modern standards, but does the trick here. Your skin, still chilly from the walk, already feels grateful for the rising warmth. Just as you begin to move toward the main baths, a man blocks your path. He's short, squat, and adorned with what can only be described as majestic eyebrows. Enormous things, gray and bushy, like two sleeping mice above his eyes. This is the bathhouse keeper, and you're expected to greet him properly. So you bow slightly. He grunts approval, squints at you, and asks if you're new to the village. You nod, mutter something about a cousin's wedding, and he waves you through, though not before reminding you, gravely, not to drink the bathwater. You resist the urge to ask who exactly needs that reminder. Instead of coin, you offer your entrance fee in the form of tiak, sweet glutinous rice cakes wrapped in a lotus leaf, freshly steamed this morning. The keeper accepts them with a pleased grunt, sniffs them, then pockets the bundle like it's a bribe in a court drama. Which, to be fair, it sort of is. Hospitality in this era isn't built just on politeness. It's oiled by edible gestures. Historians still debate whether these bathhouse keepers held official roles or were simply local entrepreneurs with a fondness for hot water and mild authority. This one definitely believes he's a gatekeeper of spiritual hygiene. His eyebrows alone demand respect. Moving forward, you pass through another door covered in wooden latticework. Its paper panes slightly bowed from the humidity. The sounds grow louder, splashes, laughter, a sharp clack as someone drops a bucket. A baby somewhere is wailing in protest, his bath evidently not up to royal standard. The smell now is overwhelming. Eucalyptus, cedarwood, salt, and a little bit of human, all swirling into something that feels oddly wholesome. You step out onto the smooth flagstone of the bath chamber, blinking as a fresh wave of steam curls around your face. The space is simple but lovely. Large stone basins sunk into the floor, separated by low partitions of wood and polished clay. A fire pit off to the side feeds the hot water basin, with glowing coals and a thick iron kettle hissing like a dragon midnap. A row of smaller basins lines the left wall. Cold water, for cooling down or shocking oneself into existential clarity. You'll get to those later. Probably. Maybe. The larger communal bath is in the center, a rectangle of steaming water ringed with smooth boulders. Around it, people lounge like soup dumplings, faces red and relaxed. Some chat idly. Others lean against the sides with eyes closed and arms floating like kelp. The air is thick, warm, damp. Your lungs fill with every breath as if you're inhaling memories from centuries ago. One man near the back has brought a gourd of plum wine. He pours a little into his hand and splashes it into the water, swearing it softens the skin. Another grumbles that it's a waste of good liquor. They argue gently, in the tone of men who have had this same debate every Tuesday since forever. You dip a toe into the hot bath. Immediate regret. It's really hot. Your ancestors were not joking around with this. You try again, foot, ankle, calf, and manage to submerge slowly, your body protesting, then surrendering. It's like being cooked alive in the most peaceful way. A woman nearby nods at you approvingly and mutters something about city people finally learning. You offer a weak smile and pretend not to be melting. And here, in this warm pool of chatter, sweat, and shared stories, your morning truly begins. You're only just beginning to get used to the heat when the man with the eyebrows reappears. You're not sure how he moves so silently on those wooden stalls, but there he is again, motioning you toward the far end of the bath chamber with a crooked finger. You follow, towel still clinging to your shoulder like it fears abandonment. Around a half wall of steamed cedar slats, there's a quieter corner, a kind of transition zone between bath and lounge. And seated at the far edge, near a barrel of warm water and a stack of what look like medieval loofahs, is her, the bath scrubber. Every town has at least one. In this village, it's an older woman in her 60s with forearms that could probably wrestle a tiger. Her hair is pulled back in a gray bun, so tight it could slice tofu, and her expression is one of eternal, gentle judgment. She's already scrubbing down a merchant, a wiry man who looks like he's trying not to cry. His skin is beet red. You watch a sliver of something, possibly his past sins, peel off his back with each scrape. You sit on a low wooden stool nearby and wait your turn, try not to look nervous. The bench is warm, slightly slippery, and makes an unfortunate squeaking noise as you shift your weight. Across from you, two ajumas are scrubbing each other with practiced intensity while simultaneously discussing the best seaweed for postpartum soups. When it's your turn, she gestures without looking. You stand, approach, and sit cross-legged on a flat stone. She douses you with 2 ladles of hot water, no warning, and mutters something about soft modern skin. You'd protest, but you're coughing on steam and humility. The scrubbing begins. It's not painful exactly. It's invigorating. Imagine being sanded down by someone who truly believes in redemption. She uses a coarse linen mitt soaked in mugwort-infused water, starting with your arms, then shoulders, and then your back in long, firm strokes that remove every dead cell you've ever had, plus probably a few you were saving for later. As she works, the conversation around you ebbs and flows like steam through a crack. A younger woman complains about her neighbor's rooster. Someone else whispers that a royal inspector passed through 2 days ago and stayed at the ginseng dealer's house. Scandalous. The lady next to you is convinced her husband's recent stomach trouble is due to a curse brought on by stepping over a centipede. She's been boiling garlic under the bed, just in case. You nod sagely, unsure whether that's folk medicine or revenge. Historians still argue whether these bathhouse spaces functioned as true social hubs or were more aligned with spiritual purification. But sitting here, raw-skinned and surrounded by warm gossip, you're pretty sure it's both. A place to clean the body and air out the soul. The bath scrubber moves to your legs now, muttering something about city people eating too much millet. You apologize reflexively. She doesn't respond. The mitt works its way down to your ankles, over your heels, goodbye, calluses, and finally to the soles of your feet, which twitch involuntarily under the assault. You learn, during this process, that bath scrubbers are also information brokers. She asks where you're from, how long you're staying, whether your cousin really did get that match with the apothecary's son, and whether it's true that you once fainted at a temple festival. You answer truthfully. There's no hiding here. Not when someone is scraping your inner elbow like they're trying to find a reincarnation. When she finishes, she gives a satisfied nod, pours another bucket of warm water over your head. Yes, again with no warning, and hands you a small cloth scented faintly with pine and rice vinegar. It's not for drying. It's for dignity. You clutch it gratefully. You slide back toward the warm bath to rinse off, your skin tingling like a peeled pear left out in the sun. As you lower yourself in, someone offers you a flat ladle of warm barley water from a wooden pitcher nearby. You accept, sip, and nod. It's slightly sweet, slightly smoky. Hydration, 14th century style. Off to the side, a pair of men are arguing over poetry. One insists that the new verses posted outside the Scholars Academy are plagiarized from a Song Dynasty text. The other counters that it's a tribute, not a theft. Neither seems particularly bothered by the steam rising from their bellies as they debate. You lie back against the warm stone edge, eyes half-lidded, and listen. Above you, a high window lets in slivers of light now, the sun having crested the hills. The beams cut through the steam, illuminating drifting particles like golden fish in slow water. You watch one float past and wonder if it's a real dust mote or just sleep. Your muscles hum, your pores have never been so open, and your mind is somewhere between a bowl of rice and a blank scroll. You briefly entertain the idea that you might never leave, that you'll live here now, among the scrubbing and the stories, a gentle ghost haunting the bathhouse with soft feet and glistening skin. A splash to your right startles you. A small child cannonballs into the cold basin with a yelp that earns him a chorus of clucks from the elders. A woman nearby, without turning her head, mutters that kids have no respect for spiritual temperatures anymore. You smile and sink a little deeper into the bath, the stone edge firm against your neck. Your fingertips are beginning to prune. A good sign, a sign you belong. Somewhere in the next room, a gong sounds softly, probably a signal for snack time. Or perhaps it's simply noon, or someone's dropped a ladle again. It doesn't really matter. Not here. You emerge from the hot bath like a boiled dumpling, skin flushed and steaming faintly, a towel now draped heroically across your shoulders like a warrior returning from battle. Your legs feel wobbly, your arms like seaweed, and you've never been cleaner, or possibly more cooked. Time once again has shifted. The walls of the bathhouse seem softer now, rounded by steam and familiarity. You half expect someone to tuck you into a basket and carry you off for drying. But no, it's time for the next sacred ritual, entering the dressing and rest chamber to carefully not get dressed yet. Instead, it's the phase where you dry off, sit in companionable silence, and, if you're feeling bold, venture a word or two about the weather or the most recent rice harvest. You pass under a wooden lintel carved with spiraling clouds and subtle lotus motifs, ducking your head out of habit. The door slides aside with a sigh, and you step into a slightly cooler room. Not cold, just less tropical. The air here smells of dried herbs, beeswax, and cedar. A soft golden light filters in through rice paper screens. There are cubbies along the wall and a few wooden benches scattered around, some occupied by resting bathers, some piled with folded garments in various shades of beige. You find your bundle, your trusty bojagi, right where you left it. It's still warm to the touch, probably from absorbing the ambient steam. As you sit down and begin unwrapping it, your fingers moving slowly, reverently, you notice something. Tucked into the folds of someone else's cloth bundle is a tiny pouch made of silk and tied with red thread. It jingles softly when moved. A young man notices your gaze and grins. "For luck," he says, motioning to his own pouch tied around his wrist. Dried mugwort and copper shavings. Keeps the ghosts out and the joints flexible. He flexes his fingers to demonstrate, which doesn't exactly prove anything, but is strangely convincing. You nod, unwrapping your own pouch. It contains a small talisman, a delicate folded piece of paper with black brushstrokes you can't quite read, and a few sprigs of dried herbs. You forget whether it's meant to repel illness or just improve your dreams, but either way, it stays with you. This room is quieter, more intimate. The echo of water fades, replaced by the gentle rustle of robes and the occasional creak of wood. You sit, watching as others methodically rewrap their garments, pat their faces dry with squares of linen, and rebraid their hair. A few have already begun the next phase of the ritual, applying ointments and oils with intense concentration, as if preparing for battle. Across from you, two women trade small glass bottles. One is filled with sesame oil steeped with ginseng root. The other holds a greenish substance that smells sharply of fermented plum and mint. They sniff, nod approvingly, and dab it along their temples with the same expression you've seen people make while tasting rare tea, thoughtful, analytical, slightly smug. Historians still argue whether Korean bathhouses of this period were gender divided all day or only during specific hours. Some records hint at shared spaces in smaller villages, governed more by custom and law. In this village, it's communal, but people navigate it with the choreography of practiced dancers. Privacy exists in glances averted, in towels folded just so, in the slow blink of respect when someone catches your eye but says nothing. A man in the corner is oiling his beard with sesame and camellia, muttering about how his nephew can't grow one yet. Eats like a tiger, he says, but still no whiskers. Someone chuckles and suggests adding deer antler powder to the boy's porridge. It's hard to tell if they're serious. Probably both. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished bronze mirror on the wall. Your skin is glowing. Not metaphorically, actually glowing, as if someone buffed you with a rice paddle. You tilt your head. Is that a good thing? You decide yes. You look resilient, like someone who survived a eucalyptus steam room and lived to tell the tale. Nearby, a girl not older than 12 is boiling something in a tiny copper pot resting over a bed of coals. She's being supervised by an older woman, perhaps her grandmother, who periodically leans over to sniff the contents. You want her closer and catch the scent, deer antler shavings, ginger, and possibly something citrusy. The girl proudly announces it's for her mother's knees, or maybe her dreams. Again, the line between medicinal and magical is blurry here. You ask gently if you could try a dab. The girl beams and hands you a sliver of cloth soaked in the mixture. You press it to your wrist. It's warm, a bit tingly. Smells like a forest that wants to be taken seriously. One man arrives late to the room, wrapped in a towel, eyes still fogged with bath steam. He spots his friends and immediately launches into a story about how the temple rooster is crowing at odd hours again. Last night, he says, it crowed at the hour of the ox. That's not good. Everyone hums in agreement. One elder mutters something about celestial misalignment and recommends sleeping with an onion under the bed. For balance, you find a spot near the paper windows where a low stool lets you perch just above floor level. A warm towel is offered, and you drape it over your neck like a scarf worn by someone important in a very quiet profession. You spend the next 10 minutes doing nothing. Glorious, unhurried, sanction nothing. Occasionally you adjust your towel, sip some barley tea that's been poured from a kettle shaped like a turtle, and breathe. Even the air here feels thoughtful, like it remembers things your lungs forgot. Outside, the sun has begun its slow climb. Through the thin paper walls, you catch slivers of morning sounds. A distant bell, children laughing, someone chopping greens for lunch. The bathhouse holds it all at bay, keeps it wrapped like a secret waiting to be revealed. Your hands, now dry, begin absent-mindedly folding your towel into shapes. First a square, then a triangle, then a crude approximation of a bird that wouldn't survive the first gust of wind. You chuckle softly, and the man beside you nods in appreciation. And for a moment, just a moment, you feel perfectly still in the rhythm of the day. You could sit here forever, really. Maybe you should. But there's movement in the air, steam shifting in the corridor, voices rising with renewed energy. It's time to return to the heart of the bathhouse. Not for another soak. No, this next chapter of your day involves more conversation and less skin removal. You're heading toward what might be generously called the social soaking zone, or less generously, gossip buckets. You pass through a side arch carved with lotus petals and step into a chamber that feels like a steamy tavern without alcohol. Wooden benches hug the curved edge of a shallow pool, no deeper than your shins, with little stools scattered nearby and buckets. Oh, the buckets! Everywhere. Some are filled with warm water, others with flower petals or thin slices of cucumber. A few, inexplicably, hold river stones or what looks suspiciously like soup. You choose a quiet spot next to an elderly woman balancing a metal bowl on her knees. She eyes you for a second, then shifts her legs to give you more room. That's how you know you've been accepted. The air here is loud, but not harsh. Voices rise and fall in gentle crescendo, punctuated by laughter, the slap of water against skin, and the unmistakable thwop of someone losing control of their ladle. It's a room of cleansing and conversation, where opinions are aired as freely as towels. You reach for your own bucket, lukewarm water with a few floating chrysanthemum blossoms. Fancy. Someone must have splurged. You pour a gentle stream over your shoulders and immediately feel awake again. Less seaweed, more boiled rice. You're adapting. To your left, a young man with arms too long for his own coordination is explaining how he once saw a monk levitate. To your right, two merchants, one from Gyeongju, the other from Jeonju, are debating the price of barley flour with the gravity of a royal tribunal. Barley used to cost 1 copper per sack, one says. Yes, the other replies, but that was before the taxman got curious. You nod in polite agreement, even though you weren't invited to the conversation. That's how things work here. Polite eavesdropping is a form of cultural engagement. Suddenly, a splash behind you. One of the bath attendants has returned, this time with a fresh basin of hot water and a large ladle. She pours it into the communal pool, steam rising like incense at a shrine. Everyone leans in just a bit. Even the most seasoned bathers appreciate a fresh pour. And that's when the gossip really starts. A woman behind you leans forward conspiratorially and whispers, "Did you hear about the court musician who tried to marry a spirit?" You shake your head. No, you had not. Well, he claimed she visited him every new moon, left wet footprints by the zither. Romantic, someone mutters. Insane, Someone else counters. Historians still argue whether he was touched by spirits or just too fond of plum wine. Another bather adds, deadpan. The topic shifts. Rapid fire now. Who's getting married? Who was supposed to get married, then vanished during a storm? Whether the ginseng harvest this year will be good for the knees or just the merchants. One elderly man sighs and mutters, "In my youth, we didn't need ginseng to stay upright." The bathhouse laughs, including you. Every few minutes, someone pours water over themselves or refills a ladle from one of the steaming side pots. A man next to you dips a cloth in salt water and starts scrubbing behind his ears like he's polishing heirlooms. You spot a bucket filled with bean paste. "Is that?" You begin. "Yes." The woman beside you says, not even looking. "For the elbows." You nod again. "Of course. Elbow paste." Naturally. She reaches into the bean paste with the solemnity of a court official, dabs a generous smear onto her arm, and begins rubbing it in circles. It smells oddly comforting, earthy, slightly sweet like fermented childhood. She offers you the bucket wordlessly. You accept and apply some to your own elbows, unsure whether you're healing your joints or preparing to be stir-fried. This is how it goes. The lines between medicine, beauty, and old superstition blur until they all become one big warm bucket of tradition. A new round of chat arises. This time, the topic is royal fashion. "I heard the Queen's newest robes are lined with silver thread," someone says. No, replies another. "That was last year. This year, it's blue-dyed hemp from the West." "Still better than that general's wife," someone adds. "She wore cotton to the lunar banquet." Gasps. Actual gasps. You try not to look impressed, but you can't help it. Cotton? At the lunar banquet? Scandal. The gossip buckets are both literal and metaphorical, it turns out. Every person is their own ladle of stories, dunking and pouring at will. And like the water, it all blends together into something richer, fuller, sometimes hot, sometimes just warm enough to hold without getting burned. You linger for a while longer, soaking, scrubbing, sipping barley tea when it's offered. Someone brings out a gourd filled with warm vinegar water, another traditional rinse for the scalp. A young mother bathes her toddler with water, scented with dried quince peels, humming softly as the little boy tries to catch floating petals with pudgy fingers. You notice one man now snoring softly, head back, feet still submerged. No one wakes him. Sleep is respected here, almost sacred. The water carries it, holds it gently. Eventually, a bell sounds, a soft chime echoing from the corridor. Not a signal to leave, necessarily, but a subtle nudge. Time is moving forward. Meals need preparing. Slippers need finding. You rise slowly, elbows still slightly sticky with bean paste. You bow to the group, which is met with sleepy nods and murmured goodbyes. Someone offers you a towel. You accept. As you step back into the corridor, the steam peels away from your shoulders like a parting embrace. The air feels just a bit cooler now, enough to wake you up, to keep you curious. And as you walk back toward the next chamber, you catch a final phrase from the gossip corner. And that's why you never leave a turnip under your pillow. You're glowing now, not in a metaphorical way, but in the sort of way steamed dumplings do right before someone bites into them. You're warm, softened, slightly fragrant, and still carrying faint traces of bean paste on your elbows. But the bathhouse day is far from over, and your body, relaxed to the point of noodlehood, starts gravitating toward the next stop like it knows what's coming. The hottest bath of them all, the boiling pool. It sits at the far side of the main chamber, beneath a wooden arch carved with symbols you don't recognize. Maybe a phoenix or a particularly angry chicken. The pool itself is smaller than the others, sunken into dark stone and surrounded by low wooden steps that look polished from generations of cautious feet. The water inside, it is still, eerily still. No bubbles, no movement, just heat. Enough to fog the air in sharp, swirling currents that rise and vanish like passing thoughts. A sign nearby reads, "Enter slowly, leave slowly, regret quickly." You're not sure if it's meant as advice or a prophecy. A few brave souls are already in, mostly older bathers who have developed a resistance to pain or simply stopped caring. They sit motionless, back straight, arms resting on the edge as if trying not to provoke the water. You approach like someone approaching a very old, very temperamental cat. You test it with your foot. Oh, oh no. It's like dipping your toe into molten honor. You pull back, breathe, try again. One foot, then both. Then, with a resolve that would make your ancestors proud, you ease yourself in inch by inch until you're submerged up to your chest. Try not to make the tiny, high-pitched noise your lungs are threatening to emit. Every part of your body screams, why? But you hush it with your mind. The discomfort morphs, slowly, into acceptance. You're a root vegetable, soaking. You're a silk robe, steeping. You're a soup, and it is okay. Next to you, an old man with a towel folded neatly on his head raises an eyebrow in your direction. First time, he asks. You nod. Don't move too much, he advises. It makes it worse. Excellent. As you settle into stillness, a trio of bathers a few steps away are deep in discussion about the Mongols. One claims his cousin once met a Mongol soldier who ate raw horse liver and recited Chinese poetry. Another insists that Mongols bathe only on the 5th day of the 5th moon, and that's why they smell like burnt radish. No one questions it. The water's too hot for skepticism. Historians still argue. One of them says with an exaggerated shrug whether the emperor even wanted to adopt Confucian dress codes, or if his tailor just had a good pitch. Everyone laughs. It's not the content that matters. It's the rhythm of voices, the sound of familiarity soaked in steam. You stay very still, focusing on your breathing. In, out. Steam curls off your forearms. Your nose runs slightly. You feel like a cinnamon bun in a bakery window. Someone's aunt comments that the weather today is perfect for joint pain. Another nods sagely, then blows her nose into a towel with the elegance of a startled goose. And then comes the cold splash. Not on you, on someone across the way. A younger man, clearly a bathhouse novice, throws a ladle of cool water over his head and immediately regrets it. The sudden contrast turns his skin pink, then blotchy, then pink again. He lets out a sound like a startled flute. Laughter erupts from all sides, even the serious elders, who chuckle with the slow delight of those who've made that mistake in decades past. You shift slightly, your hip finding a groove in the stone ledge beneath the water. You rest your arms along the rim of the pool and let your head tilt back, staring at the ceiling. Wooden beams crisscross above, strung with bundles of dried herbs. Wormwood, chrysanthemum, juju branches. Some are decorative, others meant to infuse the steam with healing properties. Or maybe just to impress visiting in-laws. Hard to say. Through the haze, you catch fragments of the current discussion. My cousin's ox swallowed a silver ring once. Did it come back out? It never left. She says the ox became possessed. Or valuable. Laughter again. Someone slaps the water with a palm, sending ripples across the surface. A few bathers start to rise now, slowly, carefully, as if made of glass. Exiting the boiling pool is a sacred ritual. You don't leap out. You drift. You ascend. You pay respect to the fact that your bones are now soup bones. When your time comes, you follow suit, arms against the edge, a gentle push, a groan of effort, and you're up. Your knees wobble like kelp in tide water. Someone hands you a towel. You nod in grateful reverence. Outside the boiling pool area is a small bench with a ceramic jug perched atop it. You recognize it from earlier, chilled barley tea. You pour yourself a cup and sip, the cool liquid hitting your insides like fresh spring wind. Your pores sigh with relief. Next to you, two older women are comparing bruises. This one is from slipping on eel broth last week. This one, rice bucket to the shin. My husband left it in the dark again. They clink cups, as if toasting the war stories of domestic life. It's quiet for a while. Not silent, just hushed. A kind of post-boil reverence. The steam no longer feels oppressive. It feels like company, like shared breath, lingering. You lean back, your towel draped over your shoulders like a cloak of minor victory. You survive the boiling pool. You face the heat, the ladles, the jokes, the elbows. And though your skin is flushed, your mind feels oddly cool, like a leaf floating on still water. The bathhouse has softened you outside and in. You've soaked, scrubbed, simmered, and gossiped your way through what feels like several small lifetimes. And now comes the mid-morning lull, the part where people begin to drift towards semi-privacy again. Not to leave, of course. Leaving would be absurd, but to rest. You follow the scent of roasted barley and pine toward the nap chamber, a quiet wing tucked behind the herb-drying alcove. This part of the bathhouse is less well known to outsiders, but the regulars, the veterans of steam and silence, treat it like holy ground. You walk softly now. Everyone does. Voices drop an octave. Towels are folded with almost religious care. Even the creaking floorboards seem to hush themselves. Inside, the room is dim and warm, but not steamy. The air smells of dried jujube and old sandalwood mats. Rows of thin sleeping pallets line the wooden floor, separated by delicate partitions made of paper and bamboo. They're not exactly private, but enough to pretend you're alone, a social fiction everyone agrees to uphold. You choose a spot near the wall, close to a small window that lets in a wedge of sunlight filtered through rice paper. Someone has left a tray nearby with small bowls of roasted chestnuts, a half-finished cup of ginger tea, and a neatly rolled scroll titled Dream Interpretation and the Folly of Fortune-Telling. You don't touch it, but you appreciate that someone was mid-philosophy before drifting off. You lower yourself slowly, carefully, because your joints are now as tender as steam buns. The mat is thin, but just soft enough. A wooden headrest sits at one end, and you test it cautiously. It's more comfortable than it looks, supporting your neck in a way that makes you feel like a very wise turtle. All around you, bathers are in various states of nap. Some lie on their backs, arms folded like philosophers. Others curl into fetal positions with towels over their heads like shy dumplings. A few breathe audibly, but not quite snoring, just the sound of people who are deeply, unapologetically resting. You exhale slowly and sink into the mat. Then footsteps, quiet but deliberate. The gentle clatter of a tray being set down. A whisper of cloth brushing over wood. A bathhouse attendant, young, serene, and barefoot, moves gracefully from mat to mat, offering light touches on shoulders and the soft question, "Would you like a forehead cloth?" Most say yes. Who wouldn't? The cloths are small squares of cool cotton soaked in barley tea and eucalyptus, folded like handkerchiefs of the gods. When she reaches you, you nod wordlessly. She places the cloth across your forehead and tucks the corners gently behind your ears. The sensation is immediate, cool, slightly damp, lightly fragrant. Your eyes flutter, closed of their own accord. The sounds of the room fade into a quiet symphony of sleep. The occasional cough, the creak of bamboo, the rustle of someone turning over. You imagine yourself not in a room, but in a forest made of old wood and soft wind. A gentle world where nothing has to happen yet. But this isn't a complete nap. Not quite. It's more like a transitional zone, dream adjacent. You hover there, blinking slowly, thoughts drifting like leaves in a lazy stream. A conversation stirs nearby. Two older men, not yet asleep, speak in low voices. You remember the scholar who claimed dreams come from fish spirits? Claimed he was visited by a carp with very clear handwriting. Still waiting for my fish to write me a poem. Maybe you're not sleeping near the right river. You smile faintly beneath your cloth. Historians still argue whether dream interpretation was considered official doctrine or the domain of fortune peddlers. But in here, no one needs consensus. Dreams are simply something that happen when the body has been boiled and the mind is tired of answering questions. You drift. A breeze slips through the window, slit above your head, fluttering the paper screen. The air carries the scent of pine needles and something baking, sweet rice cakes, probably. Somewhere outside, a sparrow chirps once, as if to check in. The bathhouse breathes with you. You're not fully asleep, but not awake either. You are bathing in quiet. This, the elders say, is the most important cleanse of all. Not with water, but with stillness. Minutes pass, or maybe an hour. Time folds here like cloth. Eventually, someone stirs, a soft rustle, a groan that sounds like satisfaction more than discomfort. Someone else mumbles something about forgetting to salt their cucumbers. A few others begin to sit up slowly, yawning into towels, stretching like cats that were never in a rush to begin with. You do the same, peeling back the forehead cloth with care. It's still cool, still faintly scented. You fold it neatly, because that feels like the right thing to do, and place it on the tray beside you. Then tea, because the bathhouse is many things: cleanser, confessor, nap facilitator, but it is also a place for sipping. A bathhouse attendant has set up a low table in the corner, where a small kettle of barley tea sits on a bed of ash and glowing coals. A stack of tiny ceramic cups waits beside it. You shuffle over, join the loose cluster of bathers stretching and sipping, and pour yourself a modest cup. It's not hot enough to burn, but warm enough to anchor you back in your body. Someone offers you a piece of dried persimmon, slightly chewy, dusted with rice powder. You accept it gratefully. It tastes like fall memories. You chew slowly, not speaking. Nearby, two women whisper about a dream one of them had. She was flying over a cabbage field, wearing a robe made of silk and regret. "What does it mean?" she asks. "Means you're overdue for a pickle cleanse," the other replies. Everyone nods. Naturally, your nap wasn't really a nap. It was something softer, liminal, a rest taken with the body but not quite the mind. Now, as you sip the last of the barley tea and brush crumbs of dried persimmon from your robe, you feel lighter. Not energized, not exactly, but realigned. Like someone gently twisted your spine until your worries popped and fell out with a soft plop. But even in this haze of relaxation, your stomach makes its presence known. Not aggressively, just a gentle suggestion. Perhaps it is time for food? Luckily, the bathhouse agrees. You follow the scent trail through a beaded doorway strung with dried kelp and step into the dining alcove. It's not a restaurant, not in the modern sense. There are no menus, no loud greetings, no lines. Just a warm, steamy room filled with the mingling aromas of rice, broth, and fermented things wrapped in leaves. Low tables are spaced evenly across the floor, each surrounded by circular cushions. Most of them are already occupied by bathers with wet hair and glowing cheeks, hunched happily over shallow bowls. No one's in a rush. Eating here is less about nutrition and more about reentry, anchoring yourself back to the earth through heat and flavor. A soft-spoken attendant, possibly 12 years old, possibly 300, motions you to an open space. You sit cross-legged and are immediately handed a tray with a quiet bow. It's a perfect square of dark wood with a bowl of warm rice porridge, a few slices of pickled radish, a dish of fermented bean paste, and a side of lightly charred anchovies coated in something red and suspiciously shiny. You lift the spoon like a monk raising incense. The porridge is rice-based, juk, as it's called here, and flecked with bits of ginseng and jujube. It tastes like comfort, like someone boiled your memories and added sesame oil. You chew slowly, carefully, as if speed would wake the ghosts that surely slumber in your digestive tract. Around you, conversations hum. Not the lively gossip of earlier, but something slower, like the cooling coals of a fire. Two old friends debate whether the new magistrate will lower the salt tax. A mother tries to convince her daughter that pickled garlic helps with romantic betrayal. A man explains that his neighbor's rooster only crows during thunderstorms in May. In fact, be some sort of deity. You nod approvingly at all of it. The anchovies are spicy, but they make your nose run in a way that feels medicinal. Someone hands you a napkin, which is really just a very small towel. You accept it with reverence. Historians still argue whether food was included in the entrance fee of traditional bathhouses or bought separately. Some records suggest meals were offered as part of spiritual and physical cleansing, while others imply that eating in the bathhouse was a luxury reserved for aristocrats or those with generous trade connections. But here, today, no one's checking coin purses. You eat because you're here, and because you're part of the flow. A pair of middle-aged men across from you start describing a legendary kimchi recipe handed down from a grandmother who allegedly once cooked for a royal prince. The secret? Ferment it in a pot buried beneath pine needles and moonlight. You suspect poetic exaggeration, but you don't dare doubt a grandmother's methods. You finish your porridge and sip a spoonful of donkami, cold, watery radish kimchi, served in a broth as clear as gossip-free silence. It's tangy, refreshing, and just salty enough to make your brain remember winter. An attendant reappears to collect your tray and offers you something wrapped in cloth. It's a rice cake, shaped like a half moon and dusted with roasted soybean powder. For later, she says, and you nod solemnly, placing it into your robe's inner pocket like a treasured letter from a friend. People begin to rise, slowly, stretching and sighing and rubbing their bellies. The elderly man with the angry chicken tattoo offers a final scoop of porridge to the boy sitting next to him. A woman begins humming a lullaby that you recognize, not from your own life, but from somewhere deeper, like a dream or a memory borrowed from a stranger. You follow the flow out of the dining room, back toward the main corridor. The shift in energy is noticeable. People are fuller, rounder, quieter now. The meal has settled into them like warm clay. Even the floors creak with more purpose, as if they, too, have digested something meaningful. As you walk, you pass a wall of drawings. Not art, exactly. More like doodles scratched into wooden slats with charcoal. They range from crude sketches of animals to poetic inscriptions to questionable caricatures of local officials. A few are clearly jokes. One says, "Don't trust a man who won't sweat." Another, "3 onions and no salt is not a stew. It's a cry for help." You add your own mark, a small smiley face tucked behind a knot in the wood. Contribution complete. You step into a side room with a low ceiling and a few reclining chairs carved from gnarled pine wood. You don't remember entering it before, but it feels like somewhere you've always belonged. A woman nearby is fanning herself with a woven reed fan, muttering about how spring has become lazy this year. Another dozes with a wet towel on her forehead and a single anchovy still clinging to her robe. You sit, not because you're tired, but because the chair was empty and the room smelled like roasted barley and the distant memory of song. Someone plays a soft tune on a bamboo flute from the next chamber over. You can't see them, but the notes bend through the walls like wind brushing through tall grass. It's not a performance, it's an offering. Something small, gentle, and mostly for the person playing it. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you. Your stomach is full, your skin is soft, your mind is quiet. There's nothing left to do right now except be here. Present, pressed softly into the story of the day. And maybe, just maybe, nibble the rice cake later. You settle deeper into the quiet room, feeling the gentle hum of the bamboo flute notes blend with the soft creaks of the bathhouse, settling into its afternoon rhythm. The air is cooler now, less humid, carrying faint scents of pine and drying herbs, mingling with the comforting faint odor of steamed rice and roasted barley lingering on your skin. From this quiet sanctuary, you notice small details that earlier escaped you. The faint tremble of a paper screen as a light breeze sneaks through, the muted shuffle of sandals across wooden floors, and the soft murmurs of bathers in the next room, sharing low conversations like a well-kept secret. You think back to the day's journey, the initial splash into steaming pools, the delicate balance of hot and cool water, the bean paste elbow treatments, and the murmured legends from the gossip buckets. It all feels distant yet vivid, like a half-remembered dream you want to hold on to. As you breathe in, the scent of chrysanthemum and wormwood draws your attention to a small herb bundle hanging nearby. It's a carefully tied cluster of dried plants, believed to cleanse not only the body but also the spirit. You reach out to touch it lightly, feeling the rough texture of the leaves and stems, a tactile reminder of the bathhouse's ancient traditions. The flute music swells briefly, then softens again into a soothing whisper. You find yourself wondering about the musician, who they are, why they play, and if they believe their music helps ease aches or simply fills the empty spaces between bathers' thoughts. Nearby, a woman softly hums along, her voice barely audible over the gentle melody. It's not a song you recognize, but it fits the moment perfectly. A lullaby for the worn and weary, a balm for restless spirits. Historians still argue whether music was a formal part of bathhouse rituals or merely a casual accompaniment by talented locals. What's certain is that the sounds of flutes, zither, and whispered voices helped knit together the shared experience, making the bathhouse more than just a place for cleaning. You close your eyes, letting the music and quiet wash over you. The world outside the bathhouse, its noisy streets, bustling markets, and harsh realities, seems miles away, a distant memory tucked behind steam. A soft chuckle breaks through the calm, followed by a whispered tale about a bathhouse cat who supposedly chased away bad dreams by curling up on patrons' laps. No one knows if it was real or just a story passed down like a warm blanket. You smile, imagining a sleek, lazy feline weaving between steaming feet, purring wisdom into the afternoon. Time drifts by unmeasured. You lose track of minutes, hours, or whether your eyelids fluttered closed once or twice. The bathhouse, with its sounds, smells, and rituals, feels like a living being, breathing, pulsing, quietly tending to those who enter. Eventually, the music fades, the woman's hum softens, and the quiet stretches comfortably like a well-worn robe. You rise slowly, feeling lighter and more centered, as if the day's soak has seeped beyond skin and muscle, reaching the depths of something more intangible. As you step out of the chamber, the afternoon sun filters through paper windows, casting golden rectangles on the floor. The bathhouse begins to prepare for the next phase of its rhythm, the evening calm, where heat and quiet deepen. You catch a last glance at the herb bundle, now fluttering slightly in the breeze, and smile at the thought that some traditions persist simply because they feel right. You move forward, ready for the next gentle chapter of this slow, soothing day. The corridor ahead feels quieter now, like a soft exhale after a long breath. The bathhouse's afternoon lull is settling in fully, and you notice the light shifting through the paper windows, casting gentle, honeyed patterns on the wooden floors. It's the kind of light that makes you want to slow down even more, to move like a shadow rather than a person. As you walk, you pass small alcoves where jars of pickled vegetables and herbs rest in silence. Their bright colors are muted by the dimness, but their aroma, a mixture of sour, salty, and earthy, still manages to sneak up your nostrils. Somewhere in the distance, you hear the faint clink of pottery and the soft scrape of a wooden ladle against a bowl. You reach the massage room, a snug chamber with low ceilings and walls lined with woven mats. The air smells faintly of camphor and sesame oil, and the lighting is dimmed to a gentle amber glow from oil lamps resting in carved wooden holders. Inside, a handful of bathers recline on mats, their bodies relaxed but their faces betraying the focused pleasure of a good massage. You find yourself drawn to a narrow bench near the center, where a middle-aged woman with deft hands works her way along an elderly man's back. Her fingers knead and press with practiced care, loosening knots you didn't know you had. The man exhales deeply, eyes closed, looking like he's briefly found the secret to eternal calm. Massage, it seems, is not just a luxury here. It's a vital part of the day's ritual. The bathhouse is as much about restoration as it is cleansing. You sit down and wait your turn, watching the slow, methodical movements of the masseuse. She pauses now and then to whisper advice to her clients. Breathe into the tension, she says. Let it go like steam from a kettle. When your turn comes, she motions you forward with a small smile. You lay down on a woven mat, face down, and let her hands settle on your shoulders. The first touch is firm but gentle, almost like the soft pressure of a well-tuned drum. The massage begins with long strokes down your back, warming your muscles and coaxing out tightness you didn't realize had been hiding there since the morning soak. She uses a lightly scented oil, something earthy, maybe pine mixed with a hint of ginger, that warms under her palms. As she works, your thoughts drift to the odd little traditions you've encountered today. The bean paste on elbows, the cooled barley tea, the secret kimchi recipes, and now this, the art of touch. You think about the bathhouse as a kind of living organism, each ritual a vital organ working together to keep the whole alive and balanced. The heat, the water, the food, the rest, the music, the stories, and now the massage. Nearby, two bathers chat quietly about remedies for insomnia, sharing old wives' tales about crushed mugwort and the gentle pounding of rice straw on temple walls. Historians still argue whether these practices were rooted in medical knowledge or purely superstition. But here in the bathhouse, such debates seem less important than the comfort they bring. Your masseuse pauses to knead a stubborn knot in your lower back, and you sigh deeply. It's like the heat opened a door, you think, and she's just stepped inside. The room feels warmer now, but in a way that soothes rather than overwhelms. The steady rhythm of her hands, the scent of oil, the faint murmur of conversation, all combine to create a cocoon of calm. When a massage ends, you sit up slowly, feeling loose and light. The masseuse hands you a small bowl of cool water infused with crushed mint leaves, instructing you to sip slowly. You do, and the cool liquid washes away the last remnants of heat and tension. You bow your thanks, and she nods in return, a knowing smile on her lips. As you stand to leave, you catch sight of a small wooden plaque near the door, inscribed with a proverb. The body is a temple, tend it as you would a garden. You think about how true that feels today. Stepping back into the corridor, you notice the bathhouse is preparing for the evening phase. The light dims further, and lanterns begin to glow softly, casting flickering shadows that dance like quiet spirits on the walls. You take a deep breath, ready to continue this slow, soothing journey through the day's rituals. The evening settles gently over the bathhouse like a soft blanket, wrapping everything in muted shadows and the warm glow of lantern light. The air is cooler now, carrying the faint scent of pine smoke and simmering herbs from the kitchen. The steam has faded somewhat, leaving behind a delicate mist that clings softly to skin and wood alike. You follow the quiet murmur of footsteps and soft laughter toward the meditation room, a small, serene chamber tucked away near the back. The room is sparsely furnished, with woven straw mats laid neatly on the floor and a single, low wooden altar adorned with incense and fresh chrysanthemum blossoms. As you step inside, the gentle scent of sandalwood and burning herbs greets you, filling your lungs with a soothing calm. A group of bathers sit cross-legged in a loose circle, eyes closed or gazing softly downward. Their breathing is slow and steady, matching the gentle rhythm of a bell ringing somewhere in the distance. You take your place among them, folding your legs beneath you and resting your hands lightly on your knees. The room is quiet except for the faint hum of deep breathing and the occasional soft chime of the bell. A teacher, a quiet, middle-aged woman with a serene smile, begins to guide the meditation. Her voice is low and steady, like the flow of a slow river. She encourages you to focus on your breath, to let your thoughts drift by like clouds without grasping at them. You feel your chest rise and fall, your mind gradually emptying of the day's noise and chatter. The warmth you've carried since morning now settles deeply into your bones, like a gentle ember glowing quietly beneath the surface. Nearby, a soft conversation floats through the room. Two bathers discuss the legend of a monk who meditated so deeply he is said to have transformed into a dragon. Historians still argue whether the story was symbolic or a literal belief, one whispers. But either way, it's a beautiful image. The meditation continues, the silence growing fuller, richer, like a song without words. You feel your body melt into the mat, your mind expanding into the stillness. Minutes pass, or maybe an hour. It's impossible to tell. The room becomes a timeless space, where the present moment is all that exists. When the meditation ends, the teacher invites everyone to open their eyes slowly and to bring the calm with them as they rise. You stand, feeling centered and peaceful, carrying a quiet strength that's less like power and more like gentle warmth. Stepping back into the corridor, the soft glow of lanterns flickers along the walls. The bathhouse seems to hold its breath, preparing for the final moments of the day. You sense the slow, satisfying closing of a circle, a day well bathed, well lived. As the lantern light deepens into a mellow amber, you find yourself drawn toward the final ritual of the day. The cooling down phase, a deliberate descent from the bathhouse's warm embrace into a gentler, more reflective state. The air is crisper now, carrying whispers of pine and the distant murmur of a nearby stream, soft and rhythmic like a heartbeat. You follow the worn wooden steps down into the garden courtyard, a secluded space nestled behind the main building. The courtyard is a sanctuary of quiet stone paths, mossy rocks, and carefully pruned trees that cast long, soft shadows in the lantern glow. The scent of wet earth mingles with blooming camellias, their petals dusted with dew. A low stone bench invites you to sit, and you accept, feeling the cool smoothness of the rock beneath your hands. Above, paper lanterns hang like stars caught in branches, their flickering light mirrored in a shallow koi pond at your feet. The fish glide silently beneath the surface, their movements slow and graceful. Around you, a few other bathers also settle onto benches or soft mats laid over the moss, the day's warmth slowly ebbing from their skin. There is no need for words here, only shared stillness. You take a deep breath, inhaling the cool evening air, and exhale slowly, feeling the last traces of heat seep from your body like steam fading into the night. In one corner of the courtyard, a small brazier smolders quietly, sending up thin tendrils of fragrant smoke. Nearby, a woman fans the embers with a gentle rhythm, her movements slow and deliberate. The scent is a mixture of pine resin and dried mugwort, known to calm restless spirits and ease the mind. You close your eyes briefly, letting the peaceful sounds, the soft splash of water, the rustle of leaves, the occasional hoot of an owl, wrap around you like a lullaby. A bathhouse elder nearby shares a quiet tale about the origins of the courtyard, a gift from a noble who believed that healing happened not just in water, but in connection to the earth and sky. Historians still debate whether this was an early form of nature therapy or simply a status symbol, but the garden's gentle presence is undeniable. You stretch your legs, feeling the cool stone under your feet and the soft moss beneath your sandals. The night is unfolding around you, and the bathhouse seems to sigh in contentment, ready to rest until dawn. You take one last look at the koi pond, the lanterns, the dark silhouette of the trees against the sky, and rise slowly. The quiet of the garden stays with you as you step back inside, ready to complete your day of cleansing and renewal. Back inside the bathhouse, you find yourself drawn to the warm glow of the final chamber. The changing room, where garments once soaked in steam and scent are folded and stored away like old friends. The wooden benches here are worn smooth by countless visitors, their surfaces cool to the touch now that the day's heat is fading. You settle down on one, peeling back your robe slowly, savoring the lingering warmth in your muscles even as the cool evening air brushes your skin. The ritual of undressing feels oddly ceremonial, an acknowledgement that your journey here is nearing its end. A cluster of bathers gather quietly nearby, their voices hushed but friendly. They exchange soft laughs and reminisce about the day's moments. The hot pools, the quiet naps, the secret kimchi recipes shared over barley tea. One older man, his face lined like a well-loved map, recounts a tale of a bathhouse dispute settled by a game of Go. The stakes? Ownership of a prized cedar bucket. No one seems to remember who won, but the story is told with fondness nonetheless. You fold your clothes carefully, placing each item in its proper place, mindful of the fabric's memory of steam and touch. A small child runs past, trailing laughter like a ribbon behind them. Their bare feet slap softly against the wooden floor, a joyful punctuation to the evening calm. You notice a low shelf stacked with medicinal herbs and powders, ginger root, dried chrysanthemum, and a curious little jar labeled sleep spice. Someone mentions, almost conspiratorially, that this blend was once used by royal attendants to help princes sleep through long, noisy nights. Historians still debate whether such mixtures actually worked or were simply fragrant distractions. But in the bathhouse, even the smallest detail holds a kind of magic. As you prepare to leave, a gentle breeze slips through the open window, carrying with it the scent of jasmine and whetstone. You take a deep breath, letting the scent mingle with the fading warmth inside you. Stepping outside, the bathhouse looms quietly against the night sky, an ancient guardian of rest and renewal. The lanterns have been extinguished, but you can still see the faint glow of embers in the garden courtyard, like tiny stars waiting to be rekindled. You pause for a moment, feeling the crisp night air fill your lungs and the comforting weight of the day's ritual settling in your bones. You've journeyed through heat and steam, rest and stories, touch and silence. And now, as you step away from the bathhouse and into the cool night, you carry with you the calm it has gifted, a gentle warmth that lingers long after the water dries. Outside the bathhouse now, the night embraces you with a softness unlike the day's heat. The moon hangs low, a pale lantern in the sky, casting silver light across the quiet village streets. The air is cool and carries the faint scent of pine and distant smoke from evening fires. You walk slowly, your footsteps light on the packed earth road. The village is hushed, shutters closed, lanterns dimmed. A stray cat slinks past, tail flicking like a whisper in the dark. Somewhere, the faint croak of a frog punctuates the stillness. As you pass familiar wooden homes, you notice how the day's bathhouse rituals linger in your body. The softened skin, the relaxed muscles, the quiet pulse of calm beneath your ribs. It's as if the bathhouse is not just a place you visited, but a part of you now. You remember the stories told today of scholars and fish spirits, of kimchi fermented under moonlight, of bathhouse cats chasing away bad dreams. The odd little legends that seem to flow naturally here, part of the fabric of this slow, steaming world. You pass the market square, now empty but for the faint glimmer of moonlight on polished stone. The barrels and baskets are stacked neatly, waiting for dawn's bustle. You imagine the merchants and farmers waking early, carrying fresh produce and fish, the village stirring back to life. You pause by a small shrine at the edge of the village, its stone guardian worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. Lanterns hang like quiet sentinels, their flames flickering in the gentle night breeze. You kneel briefly, offering a silent thanks for the day's calm and the bathhouse's shelter. Walking on, your breath forms little clouds in the cool air. You think about the way the bathhouse shaped the day, not just as a place to wash, but as a rhythm to follow, a slow unfolding of senses and stories. Historians still debate how common public bathhouses were outside major cities in 14th century Korea. But what's clear is that where they existed, they were hubs of community, health, and ritual. Your footsteps echo softly on the road, a gentle lullaby for the village asleep beneath the stars. As you reach your own door, you pause, feeling the soft warmth inside your chest, a quiet ember from the day's soak. You step inside, closing the door gently behind you, carrying the bathhouse's peace into the night. You settle inside your room, the familiar space feeling both welcoming and slightly transformed after your day at the bathhouse. The soft glow of a paper lantern casts warm, flickering light across the wooden walls, and the faint scent of incense lingers in the air, a quiet reminder of the rituals and stories that have traveled with you from the bathhouse. You sit down on your woven mat, legs crossed, and take a deep breath. The calm that's been building all day now settles into a gentle tide, lapping softly around your mind and body. You can still feel the warmth beneath your skin, the gentle ease in your muscles, the quiet hum of shared stories and whispered legends echoing in your thoughts. You reach for the rice cake tucked in your robe pocket, the one saved for later, and unwrap it slowly. The sweet, nutty flavor melts softly in your mouth, a comforting end note to your slow, soothing day. Outside, the village is silent beneath a blanket of stars. The moon dips low, cradling the night in its pale light. You think back on the day, the steaming pools, the whispered conversations, the gentle music, the cool naps, the taste of kimchi and barley tea, the slow, deliberate movements of hands that eased your aches. Historians still argue whether the bathhouse rituals were more about physical cleanliness or spiritual cleansing, or perhaps the two were inseparable in the minds of those who lived them. What matters is the experience you've shared, the quiet moments of peace and presence woven into each step. You lie back on your mat, the woven fibers soft beneath you. Your eyes close easily, your breath slows. The day's warmth becomes a gentle glow inside you, a quiet ember that promises rest. Softly now, your thoughts drift like leaves on a slow river, carried away by the night. There is nothing left to do but breathe, to be still, and to let the calm carry you into sleep. Good night. The quiet of the bathhouse lingers like a soft whisper, a fading melody that settles deep inside you. The day's warmth has seeped beyond skin and muscle, reaching into the spaces between thoughts, filling them with gentle light. Now, as you lie still, the world around you slows, its edges softening like a painting scene through a mist. You are wrapped in a calm that is neither forced nor hurried. It flows naturally, like the slow drip of water from a bamboo spout or the gentle sway of pine branches in a quiet breeze. The scents, sounds, and stories of the bathhouse drift softly through your memory, each one a small thread woven into the fabric of your rest. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the steady, soothing rhythm of breath and heartbeat. The world is at peace, and so are you. Let your thoughts float freely, like clouds passing lazily across a wide, open sky. Let the last traces of warmth cradle you, a quiet ember glowing softly in the night. Sleep is not a destination, but a gentle unfolding, a slow descent into quiet, deep rest. As you close your eyes, know that this calm stays with you, a quiet companion through the night. Sweet dreams.